Vanakkam. Welcome to the channel IPS, that stands for Ishwara Putra Samaj, dedicated to the writings, philosophy and music of Swami Vaidyanathan, also known as Remaji. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Reflections on the eternal wisdom of India. Bhagavat Gita topics with Swami Remaji's elucidation, edited and organized by me. Dear all, I am Chandra, officially known as Meera Grimes. I am going to share with you all the reflections on the eternal wisdom, Sanatana Dharma of India, having Bhagavad Gita topics, not the text, but Bhagavad Gita topics of Sri Krishna with my Guru's elucidation. There is a small story behind my endeavor. Let me say, many years ago, around 1970, when I was in my mid-20s, my revered spiritual guru, Swami Vaidyanathan, also known as Swami Remaji, conceived and taught me a series of musical discourses under the title Krishna Ratnatrayam, the three precious gems of Sri Krishna for me to soak in Krishna Bhakti. Yes, I was once a spiritual storyteller and obtained Kalaimamani Award from Madras government in 1983. The discourse contained 3 sections, namely Balakrishna, the childhood pranks and Mahimas of Sri Krishna from Bhagavata Purana, Bhakta Anugraha Krishna, the grace shown to his devotees from Mahabharata, and Acharya Krishna, the self-awakening divine words of Sri Krishna from Bhagavad Gita. The recital lasted for 10 days. Each day, I would be explaining a topic from Bhagavatam and Mahabharatam, interwoven with Nama Sankirtanam, and conclude the recital with explaining a topic from Bhagavad Gita. The Hindu newspaper of Chennai gave me a nice review. Let me read a small portion of it. To be able to expound recondite Vedanta subject in simple language so as to be understood by laymen is a rare gift. This gift the 27-year-old Kumari B. Chandra, a Harikatha exponent, has in good measure. Endowed with a melodious voice, she has chosen for her Katha recital a new theme, Krishna Ratnatrayam. All praises go to my Guru, Swami Remaji. I am using the name Swami Remaji instead of Swami Vaidyanathan. The narration was welcomed by the listeners greatly. My Guru exited from this world on 2nd February 1990. After that, I dedicated my life to do my Guru's work. Many years passed. In 2002, I gave a series of 4 talks under the title Eternal Wisdom of India in the Evening College of Lansing University, Michigan, USA, once a week for 4 weeks, combining the Vedanta by taking various topics from Bhagavad Gita and the teachings of my Guru based on his book Offspring of God and the Play of God, which I have edited and published in Michigan in 2002. I received great evaluations from the participants. In fact, they wanted 8 classes of my lecture. After that, I was busy in editing and organizing my Guru's writings and putting them into several books. Side by side, I was working on various other projects of my Guru and also on my autobiography. Now it is 2025. I am in my early 80s. Surprisingly, the Gita notes popped up to my attention. I still have those notes that my revered Guru had dictated to me on the various topics on Bhagavad Gita. His elucidations, the topics of Bhagavad Gita, immensely helped me to understand and assimilate the deep meaning of Bhagavad Gita, and I started working on it passionately. Here I am sharing an edited and abridged form of those notes with you all which is written in simple language in English, assuming that even teenagers may understand and cherish it, as I had in my mid-20s. I have completed the manuscript on the Vijayadashami day, 2025. I have divided the Gita topics into 4 groups. Each contains 5 topics. My close friend Prabha Nagarajan and my son Isha Grimes will share and read for me. My thanks and good wishes goes to them. I seek the blessings of my Guru and Lord Shri Krishna and mentally bow at their lotus feet. Preface. A life is what one makes of it. We are given a life to live, but it is in our hand to make something of it. A life is best lived when the highest human possibilities are realized. What is or what are the highest human possibilities? Various answers are possible, and the answers will differ from person to person. World has given so many arts and science for one to study and ponder and become an outstanding person in one's chosen field. We praise such outstanding persons, but people who live for others unselfishly is more praiseworthy, is it not? But those people who have understood the truth of our existence and also lived their life only to convey the truth that they have realized to others are most praiseworthy among people, but they are very rare. They are the ones who have achieved the highest possibility of human life. We the human beings are really indebted to them. It has been already said that the highest possibility of human life is to understand the truth of our existence. The highest value of human life is called Parama Purushartha, which is moksha or liberation. Liberation from what? Liberation from I am the body mental notion and obtaining non-dual oneness with God. The science or wisdom that teaches about the highest value of human life is called Paravidya, a term used in Upanishad. In Mundaka Upanishad, Rishi Angirasa teaches his household disciple Shaunaka, Dve vidye veditavye iti hasma yad brahmavido vadanti paracha aparacha. There are 2 kinds of knowledge to be acquired. They are higher and lower. They are called Paravidya and Aparavidya. The word lower does not mean inferior. In fact, one needs both. The Aparavidyas are Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvaveda, Siksha, Kalpam, Vyakaranam, Niruptam, Chandam and Jyotisham. In short, all the information about the perishable world comes under Aparavidya. In modern times, we can add in the list computer science, physics, astrophysics, chemistry, radiology, oncology, geography and so on. Then the Rishi comes to Paravidya. Ataparayaya tadaksharam adhigamyate. Para means beyond and Vidya means wisdom. Paravidya is the wisdom that speaks about the beyond. It gives the knowledge about the beyond. It gives the knowledge about the imperishable. Aksharam means imperishable. If one wants to obtain self-realization, one should study Paravidya. Shri Krishna calls Paravidya Atma Vidya. My Guru calls it higher wisdom. It is the English translation of Paravidya. Paravidya is commonly addressed as religion. My Guru prefers the word higher wisdom for religion because his presentation of the truth is an independent work that explains the subject matter in a scientific language, in a universal way, and in a new vocabulary to fit with the advancement of science. He defines higher wisdom as the wisdom revealed by God in all religions. That shows he respects all religion. It has been said earlier that higher wisdom has its unique answer to the question, what is the highest human possibility? And said, the answer is liberation or moksha. Liberation from I am the body notion. In other words, it is the liberation from the delusion that one is a mortal person. When one understands and establishes oneself in the truth that one is not the mortal person, one will also simultaneously experience one's true identity, which is called Atman or soul, which is not different from God. My Guru calls the soul Ishvara Putra, meaning the offspring of God. He prefers the word Ishvara Putra to soul or Atman because God is incessantly working for our liberation to make us know our true identity, which is not different from Him. How? Through the life we live. As a human father would work for his offspring to become strong and big like himself by feeding food and knowledge to his son incessantly, God is working for our liberation incessantly. In that way, God is our eternal Father. Shri Krishna says in the chapter 15, verse 7, that individuals are His amshas. Manayeva amshaha jivaha. The jivas are my amshas, says Shri Krishna. Then in chapter 9, verse 17, Krishna refers to himself as the father of his creation. He says, Pita aham asya jagataha. I am the father of this world and the mother and grandfather, meaning all in one. This shows that the individuals are Ishvara Putras and God is Paramapita, the real divine father of all the souls. The soul is Atman and Atman is Ishvara Putra. But one should not take the visible physical body as Ishvara Putra. No, the body is the covering of God wherein which He places His world. That is why the Swami calls the world as God's impersonation and the activities of the world as God's impersonational play. The body is Ishvara Vesham or God's mask. Shri Krishna, when he refers to his body, he says, Prakritim swam adhishtaya, sambhavami atmamayaya. Prakritim swam adhishtaya. I assume Prakriti as my body on my own accord, says Shri Krishna. Swami Remaji says the entire world is God's covering, including our physical bodies. Our bodies are material construction, wherein which Ishvara is playing his play. That is why the Swami says the entire world is God's impersonational play. The word impersonational is coined by the Swami. The individual is in truth a conscious being and Ishvara Putra, though now with deluded cognition. The body is material construction and the individual is a conscious being, now a deluded conscious being. The individuals are in truth resemble God and belong to God, Ishvara Sadrisha and Ishvara Sesha. The individuals and God are Sajatiya, meaning the same kind. But individuals and their bodies are not the same kind, they are Vijatiya. Now, let us come to Bhagavat Gita. In the very beginning of Gita, Shri Krishna points out the discrimination of the body and the true self or Shariram and Atman. He explains to Arjuna that one is not the physical body but Atman. The word Atman means real self, the true self. To understand and realize that we are in truth the Atman and not the body is the highest goal of human life. Bhagavad Gita is a part of Mahabharata, one of the greatest epics of India. In Hindu tradition, Bhagavad Gita comes under Smriti scriptures. Smriti means that which is remembered. The literal meaning of Bhagavad Gita is Lord's song. Actually, it is not a poetry. It is a poetry or shlokam and not a song, but it is as sweet as song, hence it is called Gita. It is in the form of a dialogue between Sri Krishna and Arjuna. The conversation was heard by Sanjaya and was told to the blind king Dhritarashtra, and the entire Mahabharata was uttered by Veda Vyasa. The tradition says that Veda Vyasa narrated the story of Mahabharata to Lord Ganesha, and it is Lord Ganesha who wrote it using his tusk as a pen. Bhagavad Gita contains 18 chapters and 700 slokas and explains the truth about Tattvatraya, the three great substances, God, world and individual. It also tells us about various methods and paths to obtain God, though the goal of all paths is the same. Bhagavad Gita has three major commentaries to it. The first one was written by Adi Shankaracharya, then by Ramanujacharya, and then by Madhvacharya. There are many other commentaries also, but the narration here that I am saying is not based on any of those commentaries. In fact, the narration is not a commentary on Bhagavad Gita, though it discusses several topics that Gita discusses from the view of eternal wisdom or Sanatana Dharma. The topics that I have chosen are Avataram, the great descent, Adhyatma Dukkha, the suffering of the soul, Tattvatraya, the great three substances, Trigunas, the three grades of attributes, then Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Dhyana, Jnana, Samabhava, Sthita Prajna, Matchitta, Samepriyaha, Sharanagati and a few more. They are taught and dictated to me by my revered Guru Swami Remaji. All the other commentaries may find their similarities in the explanation, but the explanations here are based on the teachings of Swami Remaji's book Ishwaraputra, Ishwara Leela Siddhanta, or in short IPIL philosophy, which is an independent work. It is a new presentation of same Atma Vidya. Actually, we are not going to study here the IPIL philosophical religion. We are going to understand and cherish the above said Bhagavad Gita topics and the glory of Sri Krishna in the light of eternal wisdom. But I personally feel that if I give a gist of the IPIL philosophy, it would be helpful to you all. The IPIL philosophy is that view of life and the way of life where the individual is Ishwara Putra or offspring of God and the life one lives is Ishwara Leela or the divine play of God, and God is Ishwara. Swami Remaji uses the name Ishwara as a functional name only and not as a proper name. Ishwara means the Lord. God is Ishwara and individual is Ishwara Putra. The traditional word for God and individual is Paramatma and Jivatma or just Atma. According to this philosophy, the goal of life is the non-dual oneness or at-one-ment with God. It is a presentation of higher wisdom or Paravidya with regard to the human soul, not based on any book or person or symbol. In other words, it is a form of eternal truth. It does not criticize any religion but respects and embraces all. In Swami's words, IPIL philosophy is not a new formulation to displace the old. It is offered as a contribution to all to understand and live their own religion better. My Guru would say, what is now required is that all religion must be true to the original intentions of the founders of religions they profess to follow. If this is done, 9 out of 10 of the problems caused by the inter-religious discord will disappear. The votaries of religion should have yearned interest in the goal of religion and not a means interest. Those who have yearned interest in the goal of religion or higher wisdom is as if reborn Dvijas while living, says the Swami. The first chapter of Bhagavad Gita is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. It describes Arjuna's mental suffering. Arjuna grieved. He grieved grievously, but for a great good. Though Arjuna grieved for a good cause, Shri Krishna pointed out two mistakes in Arjuna's talk. The first one is that Arjuna's thinking sprang from ignorance. What is that ignorance? It is of two kinds. The first one is not knowing the distinction between the one's true self and the body. And the second one is not knowing the true meaning of the life that he lives in the world in the terms of its creator and his purpose as revealed through the scriptures. In short, not knowing the very existence in terms of God. That shows that every individual should know the distinction between one's true self and one's body and the true meaning of one's life that one lives in the world in terms of its creator. Human beings should know that they are the offspring of God or Ishvara Putras and not the body, and God has created this world or become this world and is working to remove the delusion regarding their true identity. In this way, God is like one's father. So, one should not forget that one is connected to God as father and offspring, enlightener and disciple, and the Lord and his server. Arjuna thought of himself as a person. From that erroneous premise, all his thoughts sprang, and Krishna corrected that in the very beginning itself by saying, Ashocyan anvashochastvam, you worry unnecessarily about others, where there is really no need to worry, because dehi nityam avadhyoyam. What perishes is only the body, deham. Only the body could be killed. The real true self, that is the dehi, who is a conscious being, is eternal. There was another mistake that Krishna pointed out in Arjuna. It was to worry about the consequences of his action and feeling responsible for the result of his actions when they are really of God's. Krishna says in chapter 2 verse 47, Karmanyevadhikaraste ma paleshu kadachana ma karma palahetur bhuhu ma te sangostha karmani. Do not claim the fruit of your action as yours. Just perform your duty without attachment. Swami Remaji says that here we should be careful in our understanding. It is this: when we act with self-centered attitude, we should take the responsibility for our action. Only when we act for God or for the world welfare, we need not take responsibility for our actions. This is an important point. Now, the shifting of the attitude from self-centered to God or geo-centered will take time. So, during that period, one should live wisely. It is called Viveka Jivanam. Krishna cleared all mistakes in Arjuna's mind by correcting them. Listening to them, Arjuna's mind became clear. This makes us understand that the students of Vedanta or higher wisdom first should understand the truth of things, that is, one is really the soul and not the body, and correct one's thinking by shifting the premise according to the truth. That is the starting point of Chitta Shuddhi, purification of thoughts. Our present thinking stems from so it is called Chitta Ashuddhi, that is, impure mind or thoughts. Shri Krishna's teachings are for every human being. When we understand the truth and correct our thinking, then the issue will become only to live one's life as a servant of God or Ishvara Dasa. Swami Remaji calls it pro-God living. One should live one's life pro-God with the healthy pride of being an Ishvara Putra and live one's life from that understanding. So, one should ascertain God's will for any situation and act by it, and not to reason out from worldly and unwise considerations, however well intentioned, is what is wanted, says Swami Remaji. First, one should understand the truth and be clear about the truth mentally, and then slowly try to implement it, and not drastically, because we are living in a world where things are abysmally low. We can try different methods to implement the truth. For example, once my guru said, whenever his father was in dilemma, he would put the question like this: what would be Sri Rama's advice to me in this situation? And then tackle it according to the thoughts that he receives. Sometimes he may go wrong, but he will learn from his mistakes. This may need a point for discussion. Another important point one should understand is this: as souls, none of us will become tainted. This should be remembered. A soul cannot be tarnished, but as persons, we should take the responsibility for our action and try to live more and more dharmically or righteously. Sri Krishna uses the word Loka Sangraha, world welfare. My Guru's writings in early 1940s would be mainly focusing on world welfare. The understanding of all the topics of Bhagavad Gita that I have mentioned earlier will be helpful to understand 1. What is the highest goal of human life? 2. The meaning of life. 3. What all one should know to obtain the highest goal of life according to the higher wisdom or Atma Vidya of Bhagavad Gita. So, the higher wisdom, 1. reminds us of our forgotten relationship with God. 2. reminds us about our lost wisdom. 3. makes us know the truth which is not known now. 4. makes us obtain the bliss which has been lost now. The point to be remembered and cherished: we are intrinsically an offspring of God, and our highest good is to realize that truth. Though chronologically we should be studying first the three great substances to walk in the path to destination, it will be good to know the concept of avatar first. The preface is completed and the topic avatar commences.
Avatar, descend. The literal meaning of avatar is to descend, to come down. This coming down can be in various levels. There is a word condescend, means to waive superiority voluntarily, and to assume equality with an inferior. Let me give some examples. When a person who is in a big position jumps down, example, comes down to be with one ordinary workers and work along with them out of compassion or love for them, is coming down. When a dad bends down and scrolls with his knees and hands for the sake of his little son to sit on his back, have a ride, and play with him, is condescended. Here, the father is coming down for the sake of his little son. Similarly, a professor sits with his child and teaches him to count with his fingers, is coming down. A concert pianist teaching his son, who is a beginner, is coming down. A big executive, not minding his big position, comes down out of compassion to help the lower workers, is coming down. So there are many varieties of coming down. But when the great, unparalleled one, Ishvara, descends to appear as a human being for our good, it is an avatar of the divine coming down. When the Great One, again, assumes his original position, it is reassumption. As nature abhors vacuum, God abhors unrighteousness, says Indian scriptures. So when adharma dances in its peak in this world, God descends. In short, the base for adharma is the staunch belief that one is a mortal person. When that experience strongly possesses individuals, all unrighteous thoughts would sprout in the mind and move one's body to unrighteous actions. Instead of earning one's income in Dharma and enjoying one's desires in Dharma, one will start earning and enjoying unrighteously and would start to hate others and harm others in the process. Good people would suffer in the hands of unrighteous people. When the deluded, selfish activities go out of hand, God will interfere to protect the good, which means to protect Dharma, which is the foundation of a good society, and if necessary, annihilate the wicked ones. In chapter 4, verse 7, Krishna says, whenever Dharma declines and adharma rises, the problems go out of hand and I assume a human body and descend on my own accord into this world. In mundane life, most of us have seen this. When children fight with each other, the dad will just be watching them, but pretending to be reading the newspaper. But when the fighting goes beyond the limit, the dad will jump into the scene, interfere, and solve it. Sri Krishna gives the reason for his coming down in chapter 4, verse 8. He says, he descends to protect the good and to punish or wipe out the wicked. He says that he comes into being in every age for the establishment of Dharma. Our delusion is the cause of attachment towards men and matters, with selfishness. Selfishness and I am the body notion go together. Selfishness is of two kinds, dharmic selfishness and adharmic selfishness. Both of them are not conducive to liberation, but the actions of adharmic selfish activities of persons would tarnish the high standards of living and thereby bring the living condition to the worst. That would be very harmful to the decent society. So, people of adharmic activities should be punished or wiped out according to its intensity. When the adharmic mental climate is uncontrollably and irreparably prevalent, God descends, assuming a human body to put an end to adharma and protect the society, the good. This is why Krishna says in chapter 4, verse 6, I am eternally liberated one. I am birthless. I am the Lord of the primordial substance, whose modifications are this world. Yet I assume a human form on my own accord and descend on this very earth, every yuga. Krishna says that when the divine assumes a human form and comes to earth, most people do not recognize him. They think he is also one among them and treat him as a human being. In chapter 9, verse 11, Sri Krishna says, most people do not recognize God when he appears in the human form. Why is this so? It is because people are deluded towards their earthly life. That is why common people cannot recognize him as the Lord of the world. Further, he says in chapter 4, verse 9, that those who can recognize Krishna as God when he was in human form would not be born again, but go to his eternal abode, Param Dham. Why? It is because they do not have delusion. Only those who does not have delusion could recognize a great divine personality. It shows that until one has delusion, one cannot enter heaven. This makes one understand that one's delusion is the real problem. Therefore, one should first work for removal of one's delusion. For that one should know the truth of the connection between God, world, and oneself, the three great substances. In chapter 10, verse 8, Sri Krishna says that he is the creator of all that we know. He is the source of all, and from him everything comes out and they grow and evolve. Swami Remaji says, this shows that God is the creator and the world is God's artistic creation. What is the purpose of creation? It is to remove our primordial slumber. Of what? Of our true self, which is not different from God. There is another thing that we should understand. It is this. When someone creates, say for example, a musical instrument, he must have two things in his mind. I am creating this for whom? And two, I am creating this for what purpose? God has created the world for the sake of us, and the purpose is to evolve and enlighten us of our ignorance of our true identity. Moreover, as every product comes along with a chart or manual for us to understand and use the instrument as per the direction of the maker, God also has given us a manual as sastras and scriptures. Krishna says in chapter 15, verse 15, Vedanta Krit, I am the giver of the Vedanta to the world. I said that God's creation is working for the removal of our ignorance of our true identity. Ordinary people may ask, we all know our identity, and if someone does not know his identity, it means he is mad. So are you saying we are all mad? Here is where our scriptures give us a different, definite, and unique message. The scriptures say that we think that we are mortals, but in truth, we are offspring of God, conscious divine beings, even now, but ignorant of it. We are deluded by our human life, and due to it, have defect in our cognition, which we are not aware of now. But the same human life is helping us, under the guidance of God, to remove our ignorance of our true identity. We should understand this and learn the lesson that God is teaching us through our lives. First, we should remember that our body is a part of this world, and we belong to God, said Swami Remaji. To remind us of this truth, God incarnates or sends great souls to incarnate in this world, to teach us the truth, says the scriptures. But when people discard the truth and live as they like, God intervenes. According to wise people, the bad guys are those who are thickly deluded, do not want to change their cherished ideas of themselves as persons, and in the process tamper dharma and degrade the society. To uplift the standard of society, God descends and intervenes and punishes or wipes out such persons. Swami Remaji, the promulgator of IPIL philosophy, is one such great avatar who has descended in our times from 1913 to 1990 to give us perennial wisdom in a systematic exposition independent of book, person, or symbol, in simple English and in modern scientific language. He did so because he wished even common man could read and understand the truth and get rid of one's delusion and eventually obtain at one-ment with God. But people did not recognize him and wrongly neglected him. He left his writings to people as his love offering and quietly exited from this world. Swami Remaji does not criticize any other promulgators of religion, but respectfully embraced all religions. Let us take a second and silently pay our homage to our eternal Father and great saints and seers who have come to this earth for our sake, to awaken us from our primordial slumber by their words and deeds, according to the condition of the world that is according to the geographical condition and the evolution of the human minds when they are incarnate. Let me give an example. A son is in deep sleep. He has taken sleeping pills. The father was trying to wake him up somehow. Otherwise, you be dead. So with great effort he arouses him, and to keep him awake without going back to sleep, he lured him with food, luxuries, entertainment, and so on, with the good intention to wake him up from his deep drowsiness. In a similar way, our eternal Father is trying to awaken us, the sleeping souls, with his creation that contains objects of myriad pleasure and pain. When the drowsiness has gone almost completely, he turns our gaze inward by the various ways to perform sadhana and finally reveal our true identity. Sri Krishna says the same thing in a very different way, that the Vedas are given to wake up the sleeping souls, and Vedanta, in Upanishad, is given to the somewhat awakened souls from their primordial slumber to turn themselves inward to cherish their real self. The world and our lives in it are like a dream compared to the state of reality which is awake. So, we have to live in this world in such a way that we will live well here and contribute our best to the world welfare. Sri Krishna used the word loka sangraha several times in the Gita, and also in the process earn the experience of our true identity, which is not different from God. Swami Remaji says that now we have come of age, and so we should understand the truth of things and steer our lives well consciously. The teachings of the Bhagavat Gita will help one brighten one's intellect and widen one's heart, and will enable one to act in unity with everyone else. The ground for unity lies in the understanding of the three substances known as Tattva Trayam. So let us enjoy these three substances, which are very essential for unity in diversity. The point to be understood and cherished, the true purpose of life, is to know our own true identity. God descends to this world to remind us of this truth. The topic Avatar is complete. The next topic is Tattvatrayam. Tattvatrayam, the three great substances. The three great substances are God, individual, and world. They are called in Sanskrit Tattvatrayam. All three are eternal. It is utmost important for a spiritual practitioner to study about them and understand one's relation with God and the world. It has been said that our problem is ignorance of our true self and subsequent delusion regarding our body and life. To remove the delusion, first we should understand the three great substances: God, world, and individual. It is important because then only can understand one's relationship with God and the world and live one's life wisely to obtain liberation. Therefore, a spiritual aspirant first should work for the removal of one's delusion. To remove the delusion properly, the relation between God, world, and individual should first be studied. One should not forget that the great goal of human life is to obtain one's non-dual oneness with God. One can obtain God by starting to worship his forms of avatar and increasing in devotion in various ways. This is traditional advice. There is another also. Although it is hard, but not very hard. It will give us great insight and will be liked by people of this modern scientific age. It is to worship God as the creator of the world, the Lord of the creation, and the player of the entire world, including our lives, and relate with him in every act of our lives. That will lead us to non-dual oneness with the Lord. My guru recommends this to intellectuals. In Gita chapter 13, verse 1, Arjuna asked Sri Krishna to teach him regarding the concept of Prakriti and Purusha. Sri Krishna answered, developing the concept of Prakriti, Purusha to the knower discrimination. Prakriti and Purusha are two of the three great substances, Ishvara being the first one of the three. Arjuna asked Sri Krishna to explain about the Prakriti and Purusha. Though this verse belongs to the known discrimination, I am mentioning this verse to explain the three great substances, the matter, the conscious beings, and the one great consciousness. As I have already said, all the teachings in Gita are related to one another in one way or another. In the same chapter 13, verse 19, Sri Krishna says, as Ishvara is beginningless, the other two substances are also beginningless. But while Ishvara and Purushas are changeless, the Prakriti is subject to changes. Therefore, it is not really real. In the proximity of God, it is moving and changing. The worldview. The scriptural teachings comprehends worldview in these three terms: God, soul, and the world. Each theistic religion gives their own vocabulary to these three. The Vaishnava terminology is Ishvaran, Chit, and Achit. The Shaiva's terminology is Pati, Pashu, and Pasam. The Vedanta terminology is Paramatma, Jivatma, and Prakriti. These are known as the three great substances. Swami Remaji's teachings comprehends the worldview in the following terms: the player, the play, and the played for. The player is Ishvara, the play is Ishvara Lila, and the individuals are Ishvara Putras, the played for. God is the player of creation, and the creation is his play. The individuals are God's offspring, but now without the experience of it, due to their ignorance of their true identity and the subsequent delusion toward their body as themselves. The individuals are Ishvara Putras, resembling God and belonging to God wholly and solely. God is the player, and the player is the undiluted cosmic consciousness. World is the play, but it is the inert matter. Individuals are the played for. The played for are the deluded conscious beings. Swami Remaji says, God is the creator of the world, and he is playing the world for the sake of his offspring, Ishvara Putras. And this is the meaning of life, that God is playing the world to enlighten the individual to their true identity and also upgrade the world, which happens simultaneously. The understanding of our connection with the unknown God and with the known world will enable us to live our lives wisely. To put it differently, we should understand our subjective relation with God, the objective relation, or the world, to live here wisely. Wise living is called Viveka Jivanam. To repeat, the three great substances, God, world, and individuals, are eternal, but among them, God and individuals are conscious beings. God is the great undiluted cosmic consciousness, and we, the individuals, are now diluted consciousness. The world, though an eternal substance, is material. It is not consciousness. In the proximity of God, it works as if it is conscious. Our body, person, mind, ego is a part of the world, and it is a modification of Prakriti. All religions talk about these three great substances in their own way and give us the worldview. Only Advaita Vedanta negates this. We are not going into that. Let us understand the first of the three great substances. Who is God, Ishvara? Who is Ishvara? In chapter 15, verse 17, Sri Krishna answers to this question. Ishvara is he who is eternal and indestructible, the soul of souls, the Parama Purusha Paramatma, the Lord who pervades his entire creation, sustaining them. Moreover, in chapter 15, verse 18, Krishna said that there are two Purushas. One is imperishable and the other is perishable. Purusha means conscious being. Purushottama is the great undiluted cosmic conscious being who is inseparably with the diluted individual conscious, who is Purusha or Jivatma. Not Jiva. The Jiva is existential self, and Jivatma is the soul, Purusha with delusion. Ishvara is he who is above Prakriti and Purusha. That is why the Vedas addressed him as Purushottama. Swami Remaji asks us to enjoy our inseparable relationship with God and the world, and do our duty as a service to him. It has been already said that Sri Krishna talks about the three great substances widely in the Bhagavat Gita. He says in many verses that he is the creator, and the world is his creation. To mention just one verse, Sri Krishna says in chapter 7, verse 6, I am the creator of the world, and the world is my creation, and I am the absorber also. Sri Krishna is the creator, the player, and the seed of his creation. He is eternal, immortal, and perfect. More is dealt on the topic of Krishna's self in group 4. This helps us to mentally grasp God, from Krishna as a person to God, Ishvara. So avatar worship or murti worship should culminate in the worship of Ishvara. Who is Ishvara? Ishvara is the player of the world and the inner ruler and controller. Antaryami of us, says Swami Remaji, to understand and cherish the relationship of God as our inner ruler and controller, we should understand the relationship of the three great substances, because the right understanding of the theory is the most necessary for the right practice of the sadhana. If the understanding is less, the sadhana will not fully grow. Therefore, it is very important to know the relationship between God, individual, and the world. These three are the backbone of Vedanta of Indian spirituality. The soul is the middle substance, offering from not knowing the supporter God and identifying with the body, which is only one's adjunct. Our body and the world are known to us, and we are knowers of them. The logic is that the knower cannot be the known. So, the known body, mind, and the world are not us. We are different from them. God is the only ever eternally liberated one. Only because of him, other souls attain liberation from I-making and my-making of the body. Ishwara's creation has an end because the creation is a conception of Ishwara. It has a beginning and an end, so it is not really real. Though Ishwara's conception has a beginning and an end, Ishwara is eternal. Ishwara is the first teacher of us. Taught by him, the other teachers teach. This is taught in Vedanta. Ishwara is Adi Acharya. This idea is explicitly present in Quran and in Christianity, more explicitly so in the former. So the relation between Ishwara and the individual Ishwara Putra are that of the Guru and Sishya, the Divine Father and the offspring, and the Lord and server. So far we have understood considerably the first of the three substances. Who is Ishwara? Now we will study more about Ishwara and the topic, how Krishna wants us to know him. Now we will move to the individual and then go to Prakriti, the primordial substance. The individual. The name for the individual self, according to the Vedanta, is Atman. Swami Remaji says, Atman means what one really is, and not what one thinks one is. We think we are a living, breathing jiva, but we are not jiva. Then what are we? We are jivatma, a conscious being, thinking that we are the living, breathing jiva. We are jivatma, and the God is Paramatma. According to the Swami's teachings, Paramatma is Ishwara, Jivatma is Ishwara Putra, and Jiva is Ishwara Nataka Patra. The dramatic role played by God. Jiva is ego. Due to the ignorance of our true self and the subsequent delusion regarding the ego, we, the Jivatmas, think that we are the body and therefore experience ourselves as Jiva. That confused state is called knower, known not, or Atma Anantma, Granti. Granti means not. By sadhana, we should undo the not. We, the individuals, were subjected to beginningless ignorance or ajnana, and were like inert, not knowing anything, let alone our true self in beginningless time. Out of compassion for us, God created the world and our physical bodies, and conjoined us with the body and made us think that we are the body. God is the one who made us a deluded person, made us think that we are the physical bodies, and making us dash against the world, and thinking the world is real. Through that, he is evolving us and removing our delusion. The evolutionary teaching of God through the dualities of the world will end when we realize our true self. So the relation between God and us, or Paramatma and Jivatma, is like that of a father and his offspring, the enlightener and the enlightened, and the master and the servant. The world is a theater built by God for enlightenment of us, the individuals, and for the world's upgradation, says Swami Remaji. Sri Krishna says in chapter 15, verse 7, the jivas are truly my amsas. Here, in this context, we should take the word jiva as individual example, the jivatma, and not as the living, breathing, ephemeral jiva. There are two purushas. Purusha means conscious being, and both men and women are purushas. Both Ishwara and Ishwara Putras, or Paramatma and Jivatma, are conscious beings, purushas. God is Parama Purusha, and we as souls are Purushas. But now we are deluded Purushas. living through our body and senses, dashing against the sense objects and trying to live happily. God is undiluted, great conscious being who knows his substratum self, Brahman. He is the Lord of Maya. The Mundaka Upanishad speaks about the two birds in the same tree. One is eating bird, the other is watching bird, who is witnessing the eating bird. The eating bird is we, the deluded Jivatmas, and the witnessing bird is God, Paramatma. In chapter 4, verse 5, Krishna tells Arjuna, "Many are the births taken by you and me. I know them all, while you do not know them. It is because God does not have delusion we all have." This utterances of Sri Krishna also shows that we as souls are inseparable with God. God is all-knowing and omniscient. Sri Krishna, Krishna's true self, is God, and Arjuna represents the soul. My guru says that both God and soul, or Ishvara and Ishvara Putra, function through the body and mind. Both of us are not inside the body and mind. We are all-pervading consciousness. We as souls have forgotten about all our self-pervading self and living a deluded life with defect in our cognition. Until the delusion is removed, God, the Eternal Father, will be immersing us in the creation. The birth in which we realize that we are a soul, we will experience in our immediate, direct experience of our non-dual oneness with God. The purpose of our being born in this world will be over because we have obtained the highest knowledge of our true identity, which is the highest goal of human life, or Parama Purushastram, for which we have been ushered into the world. Now, we should understand this. Ishvara or Ishvara and Ishvara Putra are not two distinct tattvas to be known separately. Knowing the one implies the other. For example, when the light shines in a bulb, we can speak of light in the bulb. But bulb cannot imprison light. Light reflected in the bulb can imagine it is imprisoned. That is our condition. So Swami Ramaji asks us to remember that we are really Ishvara Putras, Atman, and our inseparable relation with God as eternal Father, eternal enlightener, and eternal boss or master. And we, his eternal offspring, disciples, and servants, live our lives wisely. Now let us move on to the third substance, Prakriti, the primordial substance. So far, we have seen two of the three eternal substances. The Prakriti is the third great substance. It is the creative power of God. Prakriti is not a conscious being. It is inert by nature. In the proximity of God, it works. Prakriti is the mixture of three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. It is like a mixture of the three colors. Sri Krishna says in chapter 14, verse 5, the three gunas come out of Prakriti and they bind the immortal Atman to the body. Now, one may question, how does Prakriti act? It is an inert matter. Sri Krishna replies in chapter 9, verse 10, that in his proximity, the Prakriti transforms. Then in chapter 9, verse 4, Krishna says, everything is pervaded by me, and I am not in them. There are many slokas in this line in the Gita. The three gunas can be understood to mean roughly low, middle, and high. They will acquire different meanings according to the realm which they manifest. The gunas manifesting in various realms will be low class, average, or high class. For example, tamoguna, operating in an individual's musical taste, will make him like crude, raucous, vulgar music. Sattvaguna, operating in an individual's musical taste, will make him take to refined classical and devotional music. The world is modification of the creative power of God, which works in the proximity of God. Wearing the creative power as his covering, Ishvara appears as the world. In chapter 7, verse 4, Sri Krishna explains that Prakriti has been divided into eightfold, namely the five elements, namely ether, wind, fire, water, and earth, plus the mind, intellect, and ego that make up the eight. Bhagavan Ramana also says about the divisions of Prakriti as the five elements along with sun, moon, and jiva, the eight aggregates. Though they both appear slightly different, they mean the same. The Vedanta accepts the 24 transformations of Prakriti explained by sage Kalpina. We have already understood that Prakriti is inert by nature, but in the proximity of God it works, takes shape, obeys God's law. Prakriti has tremendous power. It makes things appear different to us. It works as if it is real entity, but it is really not real. It has the power to hide the Lord from us. Wearing the Prakriti as his mask, Ishvara is manipulating it and has created the world or becomes the world. Thus, the world is God's form. Krishna says, my Maya, another name for Prakriti, is very difficult to cross. Only those who take refuge in me could cross over it. So devotion to God is very important to self-realization. Moreover, Sri Krishna speaks about 2 levels of Prakriti in Gita, chapter 7, verse 5, the lower Prakriti and the higher Prakriti. The lower Prakriti is gross, opaque. The world is conceived of gross Prakriti. So our body and mind is also conceived of lower Prakriti. The other one is the higher Prakriti. It is transparent and is supporting the lower Prakriti. It is the eternal realm, Paramdham. It is addressed by various names like Vaikuntha, Kailasa, Heaven, Nirvana, Atmajnana, and so on. Swami Remaji says that this world is a place for doing sadhana where the souls are being prepared to enter the eternal realm or heaven. The world is a place where the souls are being educated and evolve to obtain liberation. As in a regular educational school, there are so many different grades in hierarchy according to one's age. In this world, there are various grades of souls who are being educated by Ishvara to obtain the degree of self-realization, according to one's mental, spiritual maturity. Whenever we talk about the grades of souls, we should remember that we are talking about the grades of our minds. It is because the soul, in its original status, is always perfect. Those who are too much attached to one's body would not even understand the difference between the body and the soul. Only when the soul gets matured, one will be eager to know one's true identity and long for perfection or long for God. The longing of the soul for God is called the suffering of the soul. To sum up, God, world, and individuals are the 3 great substances, or called Tattvatrayam. God is the creator of the world, and the world is his creation. We, the individuals, are God's offsprings, but now without the experience of it. God is conducting this universe to awaken us and also to enhance the universe, which is happening simultaneously. We should understand the truth and live our lives consciously and cooperatively with God. The point to be remembered and cherished, the study of the 3 substances helps to understand one's subjective relationship with God and objective relation to his world. The topic of Tattvatrayam is completed. The next topic is the 3 grades of attributes.
Trigunas, the 3 grades of attributes. The purpose of studying Trigunas, the 3 grades of attributes of Prakriti, is this. The understanding of the 3 attributes or gunas of Prakriti will help one to relinquish the unwholesome thoughts and attitudes and adopt the good ones, which will be conducive to liberation. Our personality consists of body, mind, and ego. Though the ego is mentioned separately, it is only a thought. The first thought, Prathama Adhyasam, the first mental mode. God is manipulating our personality, and we, the Atma, are deludedly identifying with it and suffering pain and pleasure. We have already seen that God is the one who has conjoined us with the body and educating and evolving us through the choices that we make. It is important to understand that God is educating and evolving us through the choices that we make. So, we are the ones who are responsible for the way He rules us now. Through spiritual endeavor, we should separate ourselves from the body, mind and ego and yoke ourselves to God. The body, mind and ego personality is the construction of God's creative power, which is called Prakriti. We have studied about Prakriti previously. Prakriti cannot act by itself, being inert. But in the proximity of Ishvara, it acts unimaginably. The Prakriti is a combination of the three gunas, namely Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. The world is the modification of Prakriti. Prakriti is the mixture of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, like a mixture of three different colors. This also we have studied previously. Among the three gunas, the Tamo guna and Rajo guna perpetuate our life in this world. The Sattva guna will elevate our mind and make us live a dharmic life. That will eventually take us above the three gunas, in a state of which we will realize our true identity. Nishtraigunyo bhava, says Sri Krishna. After that, we will not be born again in this world due to karma. So, it is very helpful to know about the nature of the three gunas and avoid unwholesome thoughts and cultivate thoughts that will purify our minds. The classification of gunas according to Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Tamas is those thoughts that will pull one down or lead one to samsara, the cycle of births and deaths. For example, purposeless thoughts, daydreaming, a dull mood, forgetful of oneself in the ordinary level, self-pitying, finding fault with others and so on are tamas. Energy will be wasted by these thoughts. Tamas is born out of ignorance, delusion and deluded knowledge or ajnana janyam, moham and bhranti jnanam. Laziness and sleep are the main qualities of tamas. All tamogunas come under this. Rajas is neither laziness nor bright. We can say it is normal mind. It is cleverness and tactful mind combined and will lead to selfish temptations. It is greatly attached to activities. All Rajo gunas come under this. Sattva is purity. The Sattva mind will not do harm to anybody or any living being, desirous to contemplate on higher knowledge and dedicating everything that is both one's activities and thoughts to God is its nature. That can be called the Ishvara Samarpana Buddhi. Sadhakas should remove all Rajo and Tamo gunas and cultivate Sattva guna. We have seen that Prakriti is by nature inert and it moves because of Ishvara. Ishvara artistically modified the Prakriti into 5 bhutas and then after several other modifications has created this world. Our outer body, Sharira and inner instrument Antakarna, which is commonly known as mind, is created out of gross and subtle 5 elements. Ishvara conjoined us, the souls, who were beginninglessly sleeping like inert with antakarana, inner instruments, which is generally called mind, and sharira, and is evolving us through our lives. If one understands the three different types of thoughts, then one will know which one to adopt and which are to be relinquished to keep one's mind pure. There are other classifications of the three gunas like food and so on. But here we are only concerned with the gunas or mental attitude. Sri Krishna talks elaborately about this in Gita. Let us see a glimpse of it concerning with the mental attitude. Sri Krishna says in chapter 14 verse 5, Sattvam Rajas Tama iti gunaha prakriti sambhavaha. The three gunas of prakriti bind the immortal Atman to the body. Sri Krishna explains the tamoguna, aprakasha, apravrittihi, apramadho, moha evacha. The quality of tamoguna is no light, that is, no brightness in the mind, no enthusiasm, careless actions and sleep. In chapter 18, verse 28, Sri Krishna explains the one in whom tamoguna is predominant as this. He will be unsteady, vulgar, arrogant, dishonest, malicious, indolent, that is, avoid hard actions, desponding, lose confident, postpone action, and so on. So, a sadhaka should analyze whether he has any of those traits and try to remove them. In chapter 14 verse 12, Sri Krishna explains the Rajoguna. The Rajoguna will increase one's desire for money, desire for action, interest, ukam in work, incessantly working without rest, and desire of all sorts. In chapter 18 verse 27, Sri Krishna explains the one in whom Rajoguna is predominant. To fulfill one desire, he will take other people's money and hurt others. He will be both dirty inside and outside and get sadness and happiness on the consequence of bad events and good events. Such will be a man with Rajas predominant. In chapter 14 verse 11, Sri Krishna describes Sattva as this. A Sattva mind will get brighter and brighter with wisdom, and that is how one will know that one is increasing in Sattva. In chapter 18 verse 26, Sri Krishna explains that the one who relinquishes attachment is without ego and is with courage, persistence in action, but not attached to the result, not get affected by the results, and always does one's duty, is a Sattvika person, Sattvika Karta, Sattvika Guni, Sattva Guni. In chapter 14 verse 20, Sri Krishna says, the one who has gone beyond the gunas will be released from Janma Mrityu Jara, the suffering of birth, death and old age, and will become immortal. To go beyond these three gunas, first one should cultivate Sattva Guna and reject Rajo and Tamo Gunas. That will lead one to Chitta Shuddhi or purity of mind. Whatever path one may follow, Chitta Shuddhi is the first requirement for God realization. So, one should adopt Sattva Guna and live a Sattvik life. The subjective world is secret and private for everyone. Sri Krishna talks about this subjective world and gives us knowledge how to understand it and how to culture it and how to go beyond it. Culturing the wild mind into a pure mind according to the prescription that was given to us by Sri Krishna is what we are concerned with. முக்குணங்கள் உதாகரணம் சத்வம் பரிசுத்தம் இடர் செய்யாது இருத்தல் ஞானத்தில் பற்று ரஜஸ் கர்மத்தில் பற்று தமஸ் அஜ்ஞான ஜன்யம் மோகம் மதிமயக்கம் சோம்பல் நித்திரை இதன் கலவைகள் எண்ணில் அடங்காது. The outgoing mind, when it sufficiently gets pure, one as a soul will long for perfection. It is called Adhyatma Dukkha. The soul will long for unalloyed pure happiness. One as a soul will understand that any amount of worldly wealth will not give permanent happiness. One will feel a kind of inner suffering. That suffering is called Adhyatma Dukkha. That is the sign of matured person who will long for permanent happiness. The point to be remembered and cherished, the study of three gunas helps us to understand what is good and bad and adopt the good and relinquish the bad. The topic Triguna is completed. The next topic is Adhyatma Dukkha.
Adhyatma Dukkha, the suffering of the soul. It has been said at the end of the previous topic that the longing of the soul for God is called Adhyatma Dukkha. The suffering of the soul for perfection or the longing for God is called Adhyatma Dukkha. Here we discuss about Adhyatma Dukkha which Arjuna had and which is the starting point of intense spiritual life that will eventually lead one to obtain the highest value of human life, which is non-dual oneness or atonement with God. In this world, what do we have in abundance? The answer is problems, individual problems, society problems, world problems, and so on. We try to solve these problems with our small minds and find it hard to nicely solve it. In ancient days, not only the problems were less, but also people had faith in God. And whenever they faced with problems, they prayed to God. Nowadays, the problems are almost out of our hands, and also in the majority of the people, the faith in God has reduced to nothing due to ever-growing knowledge of science. But the wise people and sages always say that more we turn to God, more we live here well. Their saying may appear wrong to many people, but in truth, they are not wrong. It is only our understanding of the truth of things that need enlightening. First, one need to understand the truth of Tattvatrayam, God, individual and world, and their relationship correctly. That will give one the right mental setup. Right thoughts will make one take right actions. All wise people all over the world say in one voice that forgetting the creator of the world, that is God, and putting aside the righteous living are the cause for all the problems that we are facing now. One should understand that wise people's words come from deep and wide knowledge of the truth of things.
The great Buddha said 2500 years ago that the desire is the root cause of all suffering. My revered Guru would say desire combined with selfishness had made the weak human minds to leave righteousness, and that is the real cause for all the problems that we are facing today. Jesus also said, "What does it profit a man if he gains the whole world but loses his own soul?" So, one's thoughts should spring from the teachings of the wise people and not from one's fanciful understanding of God, individual, and the world. Arjuna felt that he should go by the words of the wise. When did he feel it? He felt when he understood that even if he gains all the three worlds and becomes the ruler of them, the suffering that he was experiencing at that time in his heart will not go away. In chapter 2, verse 8, Arjuna told Sri Krishna, Rajyam Suranamapi Chadhipatyam. Even if I get to rule the entire world and also the entire celestial world, I do not find a remedy for the suffering that I now experience in my heart, says Arjuna. This reveals to us that the worldly suffering is very different from the suffering of the soul. Moreover, Arjuna said to Krishna in the 7th verse in the same second chapter, Karpanya doshopahata swabhavaha. I am overpowered by pity. I am confused, says Arjuna. The suffering of the soul due to the estrangement from the Lord is called Adhyatma Dukkha. Adhyatma Dukkha is the inner suffering of the soul to rejoin God, which could be removed by the darshan or vision of the Lord. Sage Kapila talks about three kinds of dukkha, sufferings. 1. Adhyatma Dukkha, 2. Adi Devika Dukkha, and 3. Adi Bhautika Dukkha. We are not concerned about them here. According to Guru Remaji's teachings, there are two types of suffering, Adhyatmik Dukkha and Aupadika Dukkha. Adhyatma Dukkha is the suffering pertaining to the soul only. The Aupadika Dukkha is the suffering pertaining to the adjuncts, upadis, which are body and mind. Let us put it differently. We as persons need two things. 1. Pleasure. 2. Importance. If we do not get them, we suffer. The pleasure seeking goes with Aupadika Dukkha, suffering from our body and mind. Worldly happiness is always connected to our body or mind. Philosophically, the word suffering points to both happiness and sorrow. But here we are speaking about pleasure or happiness in common people's language. The second one is the importance seeking. This goes with Adhyatmika Dukkha, the suffering of the soul. One may immediately put the question, how come? Is it not the importance seeking an ego's activity? Let us see. In one way, the importance seeking is the lowest form of suffering of the soul, Adhyatma Dukkha, though it is the suffering of the ego. The perfection seeking for one's own sake is the highest form of ego suffering. Seeking perfection for oneself and wanting to join God are the same. In between these two, that is seeking importance and seeking perfection, there are so many grades. Generally, importance seeking is bad because it is ego's work. But Swami Remaji says the natural desires of the ego is permitted. For example, if one says, I want to become the greatest lawyer, it is good and it is permitted. It is so because the natural ego is a part of the evolution of the soul. Only crooked, perverted, ego's desires, trisama buddhi, are bad. Dharmic ego is good, and it will lead to adhyatmika, the suffering of the soul, which is the sign of the soul wanting to join God. Arjuna had felt a suffering in his heart that was born out of great compassion for his kith and kin and friends and others. This has been described in Arjuna's Vishada Yoga in Bhagavat Gita. But later he had found out that even if he had obtained supremacy over all the three worlds, he cannot remove that suffering. That was Adhyatmika Dukkha. Duryodhana also mentally suffered before the war, and it is described in Gita as Duryodhana Vishadam. Bhagavad Gita starts with Duryodhana's suffering. Now you may ask, is that also Adhyatmika Dukkha? No. If not, what is the difference between Arjuna's and Duryodhana's Vishada suffering? Duryodhana's suffering was born out of selfishness, and Arjuna's suffering was born due to compassion for humanity. Sri Swami Remaji says, suffering is due to ignorance to our true self and delusion regarding our life in the world. We can understand this from Arjuna's words. At the end of the teaching of Sri Krishna, Arjuna said in chapter 18, verse 73, Nashta mohaha smritir labdha. My delusion is gone, and along with it, the ignorance is also gone by your grace. Said Arjuna, it is impossible for one to get rid of soul suffering until one obtain the glimpse of God. The Shvetaswara Upanishad says, one can even roll the sky like a mat, but unless one establishes oneself in his true identity, one can never be at peace. We all have in one way or other that inner suffering, that is, the suffering of the soul to the estrangement from God. It is called Ishvara Viyoga. Then what is the way to go nearer and nearer to God? To feel for others. To feel for others as end in themselves instead of how to make use of them for one's purpose is the way to go towards Ishvara Samyoga. Arjuna felt for others as end in themselves. That is what is wanted. Swami Remaji says, whether we realize it or not, or we want it or not, if we understand the truths of the higher wisdom willingly, just as information, but with respect, when the need comes, we will know what to do without getting baffled. It is like, for example, a father educates his son by putting him in a nice school. Why? It is because when he is 21, he will graduate and get a job and will stand on his own. If the boy says, I do not feel now the necessity for studying, what would the father say? He will say, you will face the problem at 21. If the son says, Father, only at the age of 21 I will have a problem, according to you. Only at 21, right? Then I will take care of it myself at that time. Now, what would the father say? He would say, oh fool, listen to me without questioning. So, we should study and understand the truths when we get an opportunity. When the need comes, we will know what to do. When Arjuna experienced the suffering of the soul, Sri Krishna, the Acharya Krishna, was there to help him. Now, we have Acharya Krishna's words to help us. Here, it will be natural for one who knows not much about Sri Krishna to eagerly ask, who is this Acharya Krishna, the author of Bhagavad Gita? So, let us enjoy a gist of the biographical sketch of Sri Krishna. The point to be understood and cherished. Studying the truth is crucial when opportunity comes. Then, when the need comes, one will know what to do. The topic Adhyatma Dukkha is completed. The next topic is Sri Krishna. Krishna, Krishna. Who is this Krishna whose birthday we are celebrating and whose birthday is being celebrated in this whole country, India, for thousands of years? He must be a very extraordinary person to be so honored for such a long time, and he must be very dear and very important to this country. Yes. He was very dear to everyone, old and young, rich and poor, educated and uneducated. Let us see where this great person Krishna was born. Who were his parents? Where was he educated? What were his achievements? And how did he meet his end? Krishna was born not in a palace or delightful hermitage or in auspicious surroundings. He was born in a prison. All right, the place was not physically a good place, but at least was the condition of his birth auspicious? No, his own mother's brother Kamsa was the cruelest of men and he had imprisoned her. That was sad. And the mother was trembling with fear when Krishna was born because 7 of the previous issues had been cruelly murdered by the selfsame brother Kamsa. Okay, at least did he grow up with his parents, nursed by his mother's milk and affection as every normal child is? No. He was taken right out of his mother's arms soon after his birth and was taken to another place. Is it not sad? And where was he taken? Was he taken to a nice palace? No, he was taken to a cowherd's cottage, Nanda Gokula. Where was he educated? As a young boy, he never went to school. But later, he spent 10 years with Rishi Sandilya. There too, he was spending a major part of his time cutting wood, carrying water and rendering other services to his guru and his wife. But he was a hero with unsurpassed excellence. Usually, heroes are famous for deeds of valor and deeds of love. And these Krishna performed in abundance. But they were all supernormal. They were done with effortless ease. He killed demons as a child, kicks its feet in playful glee, and crushed a heavy wheel like some light object. They were merely part of his childish games. He does not appear to have considered them special tasks, requiring the summoning of all one's strength. And as a boy, with the magic of his flute and the magic of his smile, he charmed all the cowherd girls, gopis, that they were literally mad for the love of him. They forgot all that people considered most dear in their duties for the magic of his flute and the magic of his smile. And this boy suddenly bids goodbye to Vrindavan, the city of his boyhood, and bids goodbye to all gopis forever. His divine mission was completed and his world mission called him. Coming to know that his enemy Krishna was still alive, the wicked uncle Kamsa summoned him with the intent that he should be destroyed on the way itself. Krishna, along with his brother Balarama, walked towards the city Mathura to meet his cruel uncle Kamsa. On the way, they were confronted by an elephant, a wild elephant, and the two great wrestlers who were sent by Kamsa to finish him off. But the boy Krishna destroyed them as easily as crushing a flower. He also straightened up a hunchback old lady by his very touch and made her walk like other normal people. Finally, he also killed Kamsa and then built a city for him and his people and named it Dwaraka. What was Krishna's world mission? It is to reinstate dharma, to protect the good and poise sadhus, and to subjugate or destroy the wicked. Chapter 4, verse 7 and 8, Sri Krishna says, when people with thick delusion combined with utter selfishness go on their own way and bring the standard dharma down and down, which would be harmful to a decent society, God intervenes to reinstate dharma. He saw the Pandavas at King Drupada's palace. He saw their goodness. He saw the oldest of them, Dharmaputra, and how dharmic he was. He saw how reverently the younger brothers treated him. He saw their concord. After seeing all this, Krishna befriended the Pandavas. He resolved to make them the instruments of his world mission. Through them, using them, he destroyed the wicked wholesale, lock, stock and barrel. And Krishna died. How did he die? Not in a kingly bed, surrounded by queens and friends and watched by his tearful retinues. He died alone in the forest. He died killed by an arrow made from the powdered dust of an iron musala, which by his own ordinance destroyed his people, the Yadavas, though Yadavas died under the Rishi's curse. Krishna, who engineered the curse, also submitted to the curse. The Musala entered into the hunter's arrow and killed Krishna, whose birthday we celebrate even today with great joy and devotion. Krishna was the greatest hero, the greatest lover, the greatest friend, the greatest comforter, the greatest protector in our difficulties, Abhat Sahaya, the greatest counselor, the greatest messenger and the greatest reconciler. He tried his best to make peace with Kauravas. When he was about to go for his peacemaking mission, he asked the Pandavas their terms. All were willing to settle for minimum lands, etc. He asked Draupadi finally. She was to him as a sister. The brother-sister relationship, in one sense, is the finest in the world. So, he asked his sister Krishni, "What do you say?" She didn't reply. She brought her untied hair to the forefront and held it for him to see. Krishna replied quietly, "The sky may fall, the earth may split into two, but I will not forget your humiliation." So intensely Krishna felt for woman's honor. Only in India we consider all women our mother. Excepting one's wedded wives, our ideal is to consider all women our mother. But in modern times, alas, we, the society, have come to the level of considering all women except one's mother an object for enjoyment, bhogya padartha. There is only one God, and Sri Krishna's true self is God. Krishna's form is Ishvara Rupa and Ishvara is Krishna's Swarupa, that is Krishna's true self. The meaning of Ishvara is the Lord. In chapter 15, verse 17, Krishna refers to him in this verse as Ishvara. Krishna as Ishvara is the creator, maintainer and destroyer and absorber of all his creation. He tells us, as it were, I who befriended the Pandavas in the flesh will befriend you all in my spirit, fear not. The terms of my protection to you are stated by me in the Gita. Therefore, to follow the teachings of Sri Krishna is the way to obtain his protection. Sanjaya says in chapter 18, verse 78, Yatra Yogeshwaraha Krishno Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha Tatra Sri Vijayo Bhutir Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. Wherever Sri Krishna is the greatest of yogis and wherever is Arjuna, there will be prosperity, victory and righteousness. Such is my conviction, says Sanjaya. Arjuna represents us, the individuals. So, wherever individuals have unalloyed devotion to Sri Krishna and live for Krishna as Ishwaradasa and always look to him for guidance, there can be no defeat in one's life. Swami Remaji says, wherever an individual acknowledges oneself as offspring of God or Ishvara Putra and acknowledge Ishvara as one's divine father, the Parama Pita, residing in one's heart as Antaryami, there will be victory and prosperity. There is a sloka in Kathopanishad that starts with Atmanam Ratitam Vidhi Shariram Ratamevatu Buddhim tu Saratim Vidhi Manak Pragrahame Cha. One has to study and get the meaning of this verse carefully. When we look at this sloka, we can understand that we all have a duty. What duty? We have to run the chariot of our body, Sharira, carefully and with great caution, because only through body we experience. From this we also understand that we are the charioteer of this body and the Lord is witnessing the way we run our lives, the Sharira Jivanam, watching as Sakshi. Now we have to stop a little bit and think. How come we are the charioteer? Is it not Krishna the charioteer? It is a bit confusing. Is it not? But really not. For example, sitting on the father's lap, the little son thinks that he is the driver. But really, who is the driver? The father is the driver. Similarly, God is really the rider or propeller of our body Sharira, and we are the passive watcher of his performance. This also is a bit confusing, but it is not. How? In truth, our true self is actionless as God is actionless. The Prakriti, which is insentient by nature, is working as if it is a conscious being according to the laws of God at the proximity of God. Law of God is called Ishvara Niyati. As a father is the real driver of the car and the son is only sitting on the lap of the father feeling that he is driving the car, in truth, God is the real mover of our body. The son's feeling, I am the driver, has been created by God. We, the sons, Ishvara Putras, are sitting on the lap of the Father, Ishvara, thinking that we are the drivers. The I am the driver delusion has been created by God for our good. It is God who has made us thinkers. Before that, we were in total oblivion, in ignorance. Because God has conjoined us with a human body of His make, we experience that we are the body and we are the thinkers and doers. But in truth, we are not the body. We are only conjoined with the body with the purpose by God, and the purpose is to enlighten us. So, we should accept our embodied condition of life and live our lives as karma yogis. Right now, God is moving our body according to our choices. If we surrender our choices to God and live for God, then He will take care of our life. Then, at the consummation of our sadhana, we will realize our non-dual oneness with God. As Arjuna did, if we, the people, also surrender to the Lord Ishvara, our inner ruler and controller, Antaryami, who is always with us, He Himself will ride our Sharira Jivana. One of the names of Ishvara is Sharira Arudan, which means the rider of our body. If we do so slowly, He will take care of our both yoga and kshema, our well-being of here and hereafter. But we should live our lives in the way that He has instructed us and not in the way we like. Moreover, He said, let us go one step further. Now we Indians have got independence, so we ourselves are riding our Bharat. No need to say that it is running so and so. We draw so many plans and other things to ride it smoothly, but we could not run it perfectly. Also, the human factor always puts an obstacle to smooth riding, but we have to accept that it is hard to manage. So, if all of us surrender our lives to Sri Krishneshwara, He will conduct our Bharat, no doubt to say best. Because God will take the reins, we will be fearless and also be an exemplar to other nations. At the time of Kurukshetra war, Bharat was spread all over Iran, Iraq, Kabul and so on. Bharat was such a vast country. As it has been said as a suggestion, if we want our country to run smoothly, we need Krishna as our charioteer. Now Bharat is struggling to ride the country smoothly. Whose fault is that? The answer is each one of us are responsible for it. So, if each one of us give a small chariot, the Vyashti Ratham of our body and mind to Krishna, the big whole Samashti Ratha, the chariot of Bharat, will be driven by Krishna automatically. Now one may ask, where is Ishvara? The answer is, He is in the heart of each one of us. He is there in our hearts as witness, Sakshi, but not a witness of passivity. How? Ishvara has two Swarupas. One is beyond name and form, beyond Prakriti Gunas. Scripture speaks that state as Sakshi just for namesake. In truth, it is not even Sakshi. There is no second to it. It is Advitiyam. So, we should concentrate on the other Swarupa of Ishvara, which is Antaryami, that is, the inner ruler and controller of us, residing in our hearts. He is the sole creator and controller. He does everything merely by Sankalpa. Sankalpa Matrena Srishti. The world is his artistic creation. Such a great Lord, out of compassion, descended to this earth as Krishna on his own accord. So, if we love Ishvara and surrender to him, purify our minds by Karma Yoga, Samabhava and Vivechana, he will take the reins of our senses and ride our lives smoothly here and take us to his abode hereafter, Yoga Kshemam. But we should do what he has said, that is, surrender to him wholly. Where there is Lord Krishna, there can be no defeat. Those words are no less true today than at that time. Let us pray to Krishneshwara or Ishvara to ride our small chariot, that is our physical life, and also the world chariot, and make the heaven shine on earth too, as Lord Shiva brought heavenly waters Ganges to come to the earth. The point to be understood and cherished. Ishvara resides in our hearts. If we surrender to him in a proper way, he will take charge of our well-being here and hereafter for sure. The topic Krishna is completed. The next topic is purity of mind or Chitta Shuddhi.